Okay. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, it's looking like obviously viruses out of control, want people to take a step back. Deep breath, deep breath, deep breath, please. Breathe in, breathe out. Because not everything, obviously, what it seems, manipulation occurring to make it seem worse because it serves the agenda of control. Everything that's occurring must always be viewed with the understanding that people in authority and power wish to maintain that position, and therefore they are exercising control. So, what's the easiest way to control? Fear. This is tried and tested and always has been preferred method from those that are in power wishing to maintain power. If you keep enough people in fear for long enough, you will most likely get to stay where you are. Simple. So, if you are watching mainstream media, you are not getting a presentation of the truth. You have to start from that assumption. I know for some that seems to be obvious, yet still for others it's a aggravation. It grates because you're so used to trusting news, trusting the media, trusting people, trusting politicians, trusting those that are talking to you, trusting doctors, trusting. And unfortunately, what we are occurring now as we move forward into these new era times is that trust, and trust, by the way, obviously is a powerful thing. And we don't wish to see people losing trust in themselves predominantly and in those that they love. So it's not about all trust being gone, but trusting in authorities, trusting in institutions of authority has to right now be at the very least questioned, because there is an agenda, and the agenda is, if you come back to the overarching story of what is occurring, remember, this is the birth of the new era. Come back to that. That is where all things make sense. Those that know that this is the birth of the new era and the energy of the old era is done are seeking to maintain their power and position of an authority. Keep it simple. That is what is on the grand scale occurring. Okay, so if you come back to that, you understand why there is manipulation of information, data, statistics, facts. There is a manipulation of images. There is a manipulation of things that you trusted, and perhaps we would encourage you to be a little more less trusting as we move forward. For some, this is easy. They're already there, many. This is the idea of eyes open, wide awake, seeing what is real. For others, this is still difficult, because when you are presented with an image on the news, you believe it. It hits you. It's immediate. It's an emotional reaction. The idea that that image may not be fact, or that in some way it has been manipulated, or in some way it has been, at the very least, deliberately chosen in order to create a reaction. Let's leave it there. But the reality is that some of what you are being presented now, much of what you are being presented right now, is just not even remotely true. In that space, it's very difficult for many people, because you have a lifetime of trust. And to suddenly say you must not trust is very difficult, because you are then going into what? Conspiracy theories? You are going into the tinfoil hat era. It's very difficult for people. We understand this. And the problem is, anything that suggests that perhaps what you are being told is not complete truth immediately gets vilified as conspiracy theory. Well, this has been a deliberate attempt to make people who question truth appear stupid, appear ignorant, appear fanciful, imaginative, off with the fairies, let's say. Okay, but the truth is that the media, the TV, has always been utilized for agenda. This is since its dawning of its history. It's no different in that way. It's just more obvious to many people now because of these shifting times. We are waking up, we are lifting up, rising up, frequencies higher. You see through things more easily. The manipulative frequency, the fear frequencies don't resonate so much with the people who are on a higher frequency. So as you raise your frequencies, as this new era birthing continues, your frequency higher means you don't get so easily manipulated, maybe as you once did, or certainly as others still are. And this is crucial for understanding that the manipulation of what is occurring, the falsification of what is occurring, is deliberate, obviously, and it has the agenda of control. If you see that, you don't need to go and worry about, am I a conspiracy theory now? Do I wear a tinfoil hat theory now? You don't need to do any of this. You just need to keep things simple. This is what is occurring, and there's a very, very obvious reason why. People are dangerous as they raise their frequency, because in this new frequency era, they cease to exist. Their power ceases to exist. The institutions that they demand, that they require in order for their existence, cease to exist. So you can see there's very real, tangible reasons why it would benefit certain people if control was absolute. When you raise your frequency, when you are in tune with higher frequencies, the fear that is being utilized to control, not saying doesn't affect you at all, but it has less of a grip. It's less powerful, if you like. The further removed from a frequency you are, the less it has a reality base for you, because it's all about a frequency-based universe. You understand this? So the further away your frequency is from that which is being presented, the less dominant it is for you. Stands to reason. So we encourage you, as we always have, to raise your frequencies so that you remove yourself from the fear narrative, the fear frequencies that are being utilized to try and control people right now. Is imperative, because stop for a moment and imagine. If you allow yourself to be consumed by the media, consumed by what is being presented in the media as fact, your compassion, because you're all souls of compassion, pulls your frequency down. If you believe that there are no avenues open to you as a society, that this is being done to you and this is the way things are now, it pulls your frequency down. If you believe that the only way out is control and authority and dictatorships and all these things that are being really are now being talked about, it pulls your frequency down, because once you have gone higher frequency, you see things as they are. You don't want to be in lower frequency, but the fact that you are now being presented with this is the only options, it will pull your frequency down even further. You have to understand this is an agenda that doesn't sit well with everybody. that doesn't sit well with everybody, because people say, no, this is occurring, this is fact, there is a virus and it's wreaking havoc, and. Well, we would just say breathe, because you don't have to have either or. We don't force anybody to accept anything other than what is truth for them. But we do ask you to question, where is your frequency when you're sitting there absorbing the current narrative that is being played out? Where does your frequency sit? Is it in fear? Is it closer to fear than perhaps to love, light, compassion, joy? Where does your frequency sit when you are observing these media manipulations? Where does your frequency sit? If it's closer to fear, then you are being brought into the narrative of fear. You are being a part of this control narrative that is being played out. The way to avoid that, the way to avoid becoming a part of the fear narrative, is to go higher, to step away from what is being presented. Many people struggle with this because they want to know what is going on in the world, but we are telling you what is being presented is not necessarily what is going on in the world. It's not necessarily what is occurring. All things are occurring to an agenda right now. The agenda is to stop the ascension. It's simple. It's simple. Keep it simple, because that's where it makes sense. It doesn't make sense why these things are occurring, or why something may be manipulated, or why something may not be exactly truthful, or why would they do this? Why would they say this? Why? It only makes sense when you come back to the simple agenda. Stop the ascension. Delay it as long as you can. When you sit in that simple comprehension of what is occurring, things make sense. You don't have to put on your tin-foil hat. You don't have to dive down any rabbit hole. You don't have to do any of that. You sit in the simple story, the simplest explanation of what is occurring. And in that space, it makes sense, because in that space, it comes back to a light versus fear, light versus dark. And we have to go to the light. So lift up, frequency up. And the way you do that is through your choices. And the number one choice you can make is to disengage from the narrative that is being portrayed, in order to keep you tied in, locked in to the control agenda. Withdraw from that. As you pursue things like health, pursue things like freedom, pursue things like love, pursue things like joy, your frequency rises. When you sit in the highest frequencies, the fear frequencies that are playing out will not affect you. It's only when you step out of that frequency and become more immersed again into the lower frequencies that are being put out, the fear frequencies, that you become absorbed by them again. We say to people right now, it doesn't serve anybody, even if you completely believe everything the media is telling you. Whom does it serve for you to be absorbed in the narrative of that fear? Whom does it serve? It serves nobody. Now, if you accept 100% what is being said on the mainstream media, and that is your prerogative, you have freedom. If you accept that 100% truth is what is being presented to you in the mainstream media, the news, the politicians, if you accept that, then we would urge you to say, Don't sit there in despair watching it. Don't sit there feeling the frequency of the fear. Go to your higher frequency of how can I serve? How can I serve? Because if you're going to accept it and you're going to believe in it 100%, then what can you do about it? How can I serve? Immediately, you're out of the fear into your higher self, into your frequency of higher being. How can I serve this right now? Let the answers come to you. Each person's individual. Let the answers come to you. How can I serve? Because in that space, in that questioning, in that opening up of your heart and your mind to how can I serve, you are going into your highest frequencies. So we're not saying to anybody, if it's too difficult for you to accept that there is a manipulative gender going on, that's fine. But don't stay there. Even if you accept it, don't stay there. How can I serve right now? What's the best way for me to serve? And do that. Be that. Be the servant of light. Bring it to the situation that you are invested in, that you believe in. We do urge anybody to at least accept the possibility that as things move on, not all issues being presented to you will be factual. Open up to the possibility, because it really will serve you far greater moving forward. A healthy skepticism will not go amiss. Start with the simple. This is about control. The agenda is stop the ascension. Delay it. Start simple, then all things make sense. Always people try to jump to the why, that is the why. Everything else is a stepping stone to the bigger why. Come there, because in that space for most people, that makes sense. Now, that's the first thing we want to say, because there is a lot going on, being questioned, being talked about, being asked about what is occurring with the vaccines, what is occurring with the vaccine's injuries, what is occurring with the idea that vaccine are spreading. Okay, so we've said before, the vaccines are not good. We're not going to hide from that. We have said since day one, they are not good. People that were in so much fear, and still are, choosing to take it, well, perhaps it's the only way they're going to lessen their fear, which, for the good of the planet, for the good of the ascension, is the priority right now. Drop the fear, go higher, go higher. Are people suffering from some of these vaccinations? Yes, they are. It's obvious, the numbers are there. What's being reported is not factual. It's a proportion of what is really occurring. It's actually far greater than what is being reported, obviously. We accept that. Is it affecting people that they are coming into contact with? Yes. Yes, it is. Now, that shouldn't be news or surprise. Many things. If you go, let's start again. As you appreciate more and more that you live in a frequency-based universe, you understand that the frequency comes first before the reality manifests. When you inject yourself with a vaccine, any vaccine, not just the COVID vaccine, you are taking a frequency into your body and absorbing that. That frequency then becomes a part of your frequency. There's no getting away from that. That then becomes a part of your frequency. Sure, there are things you can do to improve it. There are things you can do to subvert some of it. But if you just accept most people taking in the vaccine into their system, it's a frequency that now becomes a part of your frequency. Is that a good thing? No. What is occurring now is a frequency. Understand life as a frequency. people who have been vaccinated by COVID vaccines are taking that frequency into their systems, and that frequency is going out and affecting. That frequency is affecting, and the reality is following. What does that mean? That means that it is now more than ever incumbent upon people who are awake, rising up, waking up, to raise their frequency so they rise above the frequency of the vaccine that is being put around by all who have been vaccinated. Now, normally this occurs. This occurs all the time. If somebody has a frequency, they walk into a room, that frequency changes the frequency of the room. When it's extreme, you feel it. Or joyful or darker, you feel it. Somebody walks into the room and they're depressed, heavily depressed. The energy of the frequency of the room goes down. You all feel it. You know it. You walk into a room and it's dark. You don't want to be there. You walk into a party and it's all light and loving. You raise your frequency to that frequency and you want to enjoy that time in that higher frequency. This happens all the time. This is the frequency-based reality. So the problem now is that when normally one person has gone and been vaccinated, or within a group of people, for example, that frequency is in the minority. The frequencies around it may be impacted, but it's just the one. You get to move away from that person. You might not see that person for some time. That frequency has been absorbed into their frequency. It's lessened, it's changed, it's shifted, it's become their own frequency. You're not so aware of the frequencies that are being shifted and changed because of the frequency. Let's talk specifically about being a vaccinated person. Right now, the vaccinations that are occurring in certain countries are on such a big scale that it's almost impossible for those who are not vaccinated to be separate from the frequencies of the vaccinated. If you are somebody who has been avoiding the vaccine, you will still be impacted by the frequencies of those around you. There are physical-based realities that will follow. Frequency first, reality follow. You have a way of making sure that you do not succumb to the reality, the manifestations of those frequencies, by raising your frequency up, so that the frequency of the vaccinated person that you may be coming into contact with is not going to reduce your frequency to the point where the reality manifestations from those frequencies affect you. Anyone listening who is coming into contact with vaccinated from COVID, let's keep it COVID now, vaccine people must work harder to raise their frequency higher, so that the impact of those who are vaccinated around you, their frequency, will not impact upon your frequency, so that you then have to suffer the manifestations of the reality of that frequency. Hope that makes sense. There is a lot going to come out. There is a lot occurring. Many will suffer. We have said this. We cannot avoid this. The way to avoid it is to go higher. The way to avoid all things is to push your frequency so high that this darkness cannot affect you. So what does that mean? That means you must now take care of your body, take care of your health, that frequency. You must take care of it. You must eat well. You must live well, sleep well. Take care of that physical body that you have. Take care of that frequency. The foods you eat must support you now. The lifestyle you live must support you now. The thoughts that you have must support you now. The choices you make should be about creating the frequency of lifting you up away from the frequencies of what is occurring. That is choosing joy, choosing laughter, choosing health, choosing love, choosing compassion, choosing, because it is a choice. So we come back full circle to the idea of being absorbed by what is being presented in the mainstream media. If you are believing it, your frequency is being pulled down. That cannot occur. Push your frequency up. Find the joy, find the light, find the love. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you healthy. Do what makes your soul sing. Get back to connection, meditate, breathe, walk in nature. Get back to nature, get back to animals, get back to those that you love. Sit and surround yourself. This is the work now. This is the work that must be done. The work that must be done is anything and everything that you choose to do to create a higher frequency for yourself. Now, the things you can do are choose better lifestyle choices. Anger at what is occurring. If you are more disbelieving in the mainstream narrative, there can be anger coming from that. There can be a lot of anger at the manipulation. There can be a lot of anger at the control, a lot of anger at what is being played out. We don't blame you for the anger. Please don't live there. Please don't live there, because it's not going to serve your frequency. Feel anger, sure. Move on. Change that anger into understanding that if you stay in anger at what is occurring, you are still a part of the narrative. Raise higher. You must. You must. Whilst you understand the anger, whilst you understand the despair even, if you keep your frequency in those very low frequency states, you will be affected by what is occurring. You will be a part of this narrative, not separate from it. We need all people that are awake to go higher, so they are separate from the narrative that is being played out, not a part of it. Yes, your well-being is now depending on your frequency raising higher. This is okay. This is okay. Encourage people to take better care of their thoughts, to take better care of their lives, to take better care of their loved ones, to take better care of their bodies, their health. You're living in a time where the information that is available to you has never been better, because it's got access to it. There are so many tools for healing, so many tools available for lifting your frequencies up, so many wonderful, amazing opportunities out there for creating a life that really allows you to vibrate higher. This is a special time. So you can choose that way to live. You can choose that way. You don't have to choose what is occurring. You don't have to be a part of it. And we are urge with real sincerity, anybody and everybody that really wants to perform the role they came to be, stop participating in the dark and let's get about shining the light. It's so easy to be manipulated when your heart is open, when your compassion is full, as all spiritual beings, human beings are. It's so easy to be controlled and manipulated. You have to see it. Do not engage with it. Push your frequency higher. Push it. By your choices, your freedom of choice to vibrate higher. It is important. It is important. We know this journey is a bouncy one. We know you will be up, down, up, down, up, down. You have to smoothen that out. But we want you to smoothen it out in the higher frequencies, not by succumbing to the lower frequencies and staying there. People that have been in lockdown for a long time just want freedom. That's a frequency, a high frequency. But they've got one eye on the doom that is being portrayed, that is lurking, that is looming, that is coming. And their frequencies are not up where they should be. Go into your freedom. Go into that freedom. Go into that frequency. Live it. Up, up, up. There is so much that you can do to support yourself. It's an amazing time that you were born. It's the only time for this to occur. You know this. The light is so powerful, which is why we are seeing this frantic attempt to delay the inevitable. So you have to be the ones that choose the light, because the light is available. And if you don't choose it, you are choosing dark. You are part of the narrative. The birth of the new era will be delayed. It cannot be stopped, but it will be delayed. No need for this. Rise up. There's a light just waiting for you to step into it. Every thought you have, every breath you wish to take can be a light-filled step towards higher frequency. Touch those around you with love. Don't bring your doom, don't bring your gloom. Frequency up. You shift everyone else's frequency when your frequency is up. When your frequency is high enough, you then change their reality. They don't change yours. Light is always more powerful than the dark. Be the light that walks into a room, that everyone else can start your frequency up to vibrate higher towards your frequency. Be that light. Be that light in the darkness for everyone else to vibrate up to during these times. It's important. It's everything. There is so much occurring. You already know there is so much more that will occur. The crucial part to all of this is to understanding why. Ascension. Remember what you came for. Remember who you are. There is no way that you can't do this. There is no way. But you have to make the right choices. And the right choices are those that allow you to vibrate higher, to push up the frequency of the planet, to push up the light, to give other people something to resonate with. Find that resonance in a higher frequency. That's what you're here for. That's what you came for. Much love.